Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I really don't. First of all, David asked me to do a favor. As the pasuk says, "Eved Avram Anochi, Chavar Ani L'Chol Asher Yerucha." If there's a time that I could have off and I could spread Torah, why not? One of the most fascinating svarim that the Rebbe put his work in is Likutei Sichos. You know, the Rebbe said. The Rebbe spoke by Farbrengen, and then they wrote it for him, and he's talking Magia, and every word in Likutei Sichos is talking Kodesh Kadashim, but the Rebbe didn't write it. Hayoim Yoim the Rebbe wrote, and Haggadah Shel Pesach the Rebbe wrote. No, for those to say Haggadah Shel Pesach the Rebbe wrote, that's also not correct, because Haggadah Shel Pesach, if you look in the back of the old Lubavitcher Siddur, there is the Haggadah Shel Pesach. And that the nusach the Alter Rebbe, I think somebody just rang the bell. That's the nusach the Alter Rebbe has, how the Alter Rebbe wants the Haggadah to be. So the Haggadah Shel Pesach, even before the Rebbe wrote his commentary, there was Haggadah Shel Pesach for hundreds of years. And the Rebbe actually attributes it that the nusach Haggadah goes back to as far as Rashi. So there's going to be different nuschos in Haggadah, but all what the Rebbe did in his sefer is the Rebbe took the words of the Haggadah as the nusach the Alter Rebbe wants. We know when the Alter Rebbe made his siddur. See, I don't daven every day in a Lubavitcher shul. I go to Shina shul, and I learn every day something new, a different minhag, how we are different, and I try to figure out halachically why we are why the Alter Rebbe chose to do that. It says that the Alter Rebbe, hey, you're Mendel Karski Zayden? Ah, wow. The Alter Rebbe chose from his nusach from 60 sidurim. The Alter Rebbe printed had in front of him 60 sidurim, and he chose what he felt was the most refined nusach to say. So if it's in nusach hatfilah, it's also in the Haggadah. But again, the Rebbe did not take the Haggadah and make a big fuss about the nusach. The Rebbe in the Haggadah, the Rebbe basically took it, and of course, the Rebbe downplayed his lumdus in it. The Rebbe made it sound like he just collected and he didn't really do anything, but we know it's much more than that. All right, so I don't know how much we could cover. We know that Arvik Psachim, Masechta Psachim is the last Perek. There are people that can learn that for years and years and years, and there's things that are the Ger just for Pesach. There are things that they get for Kiddush all year around, Kiddush Suda, so you can learn this and learn this and learn this. I mean, we're going to try to cover some inyanim in this 1 hour and see some of the nice things that the Rebbe was ma'arer in the Haggadah. So let's start with page Hey. So if you don't know how the Rebbe's Haggadah works, the top part is basically cut paste from the Alter Rebbe's Siddur, the Alter Rebbe's Nusach Haggadah, and everything in the bottom is all the Rebbe's commentaries, the Rebbe's comments explaining wherever he felt. Anybody knows the Rosh. The Rosh goes nuts on the Rebbe's Haggadah. He goes nuts on the Rebbe's Haggadah. It's basically because the Rebbe hand wrote this. So he has tile shiurim on every part of the Haggadah. All right. So I'm just going to bounce around, highlight some of the stuff. Let's the first one in page Hey. See the Rebbe quotes the words of the Alter Rebbe Seder Haggadah, and the box in the bottom I highlighted 2 things, just to show you that everything that you learn, everything that happens in the night of Pesach has a rhyme and reason. Don't just take it. Don't just take it for granted. There's a lumdus. There's a rhyme and reason. So there's 2 parts I circled around there. Seder Haggadah. Pam Amarli Adoni Avi Rabbi. This is the Rebbe. What the Rebbe did, the Rebbe quotes from the Friedrich Rebbe. I have my shtickle Torah that I have. There was no bigger chassid from a chassid to a Rebbe than there was the Rebbe to the Friedrich Rebbe. The Rebbe did a genius piece of work here. Lumdus Shebelumdus. If you look, there's in the Rabbi Zevin's sefer, he takes this apart, the sefer, and he says this is Pashit Goin Shebegoin. But the Rebbe downplays it. The Rebbe calls it Likutei Taimim and Hagim. He just collected some stuff. Now, the Rebbe, if you'll see, every time the Rebbe says something, he makes as if he wasn't Mechadish. He quotes from the Shulchan Aruch, he quotes from the Chak Yaakov, he quotes from the Friedrich Rebbe, whatever he quotes and he brings a Mara Mokim. And
This was before Nasil, so
before Nasil. So he and it came out in stages. It came out. That's why you'll see the Haggadah. There's the thin Haggadah, then there's the fat. Besides for all the sichos in the back, the sichos in the back are over the 30, 40 years later. But besides for the sichos, the actual Haggadah on the bottom came out in phase 1, phase 2. Okay, so if you look at the funniest thing, the last one that the Rebbe brings is the famous one. The last statement the Rebbe brings on the Haggadah. See, from here, the Haggadah is over already here. Look how this is the Haggadah. The rest is all sichos. But this is, so the Rebbe says the famous thing about Lashon Haba b'Yerushalayim. So he quotes, the Rebbe Rabbeinu HaZaken hat nicht reingestellt in Siddur nach der Haggadah die Werte Chasal Siddur Pesach. You go to any other Haggadah, it says after the end of the Seder, it says Chasal Siddur Pesach. We finished the Seder Kihil Chasai, and we hope, and a nice bracha. But the Alter Rebbe did not put that in Chasal Siddur Pesach. Val b'Chabad endigt sich nicht am Pesach. Because by Chabad we didn't finish. Done. Up. There's a vart in the Rishimis, the very famous vart in the Rishimis, that somebody once came to the Rebbitzins and said, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, Yom Tov was over." Whatever Yom Tov was. And she turns around, the Rishim, it's not our Rebbitzin. One of the Rebbitzins turns around to the Chassid is, by un Zokmanish, we're done with Yom Tov. By us, we say, Baruch Hashem, we accomplished we added another Maila, another Yom Tov we achieved. Okay, anyways. So by us, by Chabad, endigt sich nicht am Pesach. Pesach never finishes. Nor nimshach ständig. This is not from the one. This is the end. The Emes, says the Rebbe, ha'aras kol hamoed me'ir b'chol yom. This really applies to every Yom Tov. Nor Chag Pesach nimshach ständig. Chag Pesach, even more than any other Yom Tov, lasts forever. So this is a quote, and the Rebbe, as being as humble as he is, quotes it from the source. He says, Sichas Chag Pesach Hey Tavshin Gimel Mikvoi Kedushas Meir V'Chami Admor. This is a Sicha that this statement I just quoted is a vart from the Friedrich Rebbe, my Shver, the Friedrich Rebbe. Chag Pesach Tavshin Gimel. So I have a klutz kasha. If anybody does the math, knows that Hey Tavshin Gimel wasn't the Alter Rebbe. Hey Tavshin Gimel wasn't the Mittel Rebbe. If you put the math, in 1943, Hey Tavshin Gimel was the Friedrich Rebbe. Why does he finish off Sicha? It's the only place where he does this. Usually he makes a reference to the Sicha, or who said it. Here he says, Sichas Chag Pesach, Hey Tavshin Gimel, Mikvoit Kedushas Meir V'Chami Admor. My hunch is, the Rebbe being the Chassid of the Friedrich Rebbe says, I could have made the biggest Lamdish Sefer. But it's all, but what's the bottom line? The last 3 words I'm finishing off, Kvayt Kedushas Meir V'Chami Admor. It's all the Rebbe. It's all the Kaiches of the Rebbe. Anyways, that's just, so over here, back to our page. Yeah, back to our page. Seder Haggadah. Pam. This was like klutzy. I'm blocking the camera here. Pam Omar Liadoni Avi Meir Rabbi. Once my father tells this. Now this is he's quoting a Sicha from the Friedrich Rebbe. The Friedrich Rebbe is saying, once my father told me, the Rebbe Rashab told me, Yosef Yitzchak men darf trachten. That in the night of the Seder, don't let it go by. Don't let it, okay, next. You have to pay attention to what's going on. Was darf man trachten? Azayin a mensch. During the Seder, you have to think about, I want to become a mensch. Vet der Eibishter helfen. Befrat be'eis psichas adelas, especially when you open the door by Shveicha Vascha. Nid bet ken gashmias. Don't use that time to ask for monetary things, gashmistic things. Bet ruchnius. So it's just funny that he posts this right in the beginning. He posted it right in the beginning. You're about to start the Haggadah. You're about to set the Kairi. You should know everything has to have attention. Everything he starts with the Friedrich Rebbe, and 2 paragraphs later he brings from the Maril, which is way before the Friedrich Rebbe, much harsher. Look at that next box. Yehei kol adam chored be'ema. He quotes from the Maril. Everybody should be full of fear. L'kayim mayamer chachamim shetiknu mitzvahs haseder v'Haggadah. When you're about to start the Seder, you're sitting around the table. Make sure l'kayim to fulfill every detail of the Seder and Haggadah. V'lo yehei adavar kal be'enov. Don't let anything be insignificant. Nothing about the night of Seder is insignificant. Even though some things that you do tonight seems to be secondary, not, that's of course, I know what I have to do, but everything else is secondary. You think it's unimportant. Nevertheless, you should really think about it and to fulfill every detail of the night. And this is the punchline. She'ein shum davar reik bahem. There is nothing that you do in the night of the Seder that's empty. There's no reason for it. Of course, when it comes to karpas, everybody knows why do we do karpas. There's no reason. Just la'atmiya tanoikis, just to make the kids ask questions. But that is a reason. Everything you do from the beginning of the Seder until the end of the Seder, everything has a rhyme, everything has a reason, and everything is important. And don't overlook anything. Okay, I'll give you an example. There's a very famous story with the Shpala Zayda. The Shpala Zayda once came home the night of the Seder, and he sat down to make the Kaira and the Kiddush and all that. And he asked his kid, "Nu Kadesh, tell me what you learned in school. What is Kaddish?" So the kid says, "Kaddish, father makes Kiddush." "What's Kaddish?" "You make Kiddush." So he says, "Nothing else? The speech is over?" He says, "Yeah." So, all right. Next morning, he sees the teacher in school. He says, "What's Kaddish?" He says, "Yeah, Kaddish. Kata makes Kiddush." He says, "Isn't there a longer speech?" The longest speech is, Tata kommt heim from shul. When the father comes home from shul, macht gleich Kiddush. He shouldn't waste time. He should right away make Kiddush. The kinders only shine schlafen, so the kids shouldn't fall asleep. So you hurry up, do the right thing. So the teacher says to the Maral, to the Shpola, it's the main thing is that we got to get Kiddush going. So I said, Kaddish, mach Kiddush. She says, "Oh boy, you don't even know what's behind that statement." Behind that statement is not only when the father comes home, he's tired and the kids are anxious, get it done. It's much deeper. The fathers, they have Eibishter and Shemayim. The Eibishter and Shemayim comes home and he sees the Yidden are in Golus. And the Yidden are tzeklapt. He right away renews our vows. He is Mekadesh us again before we become Farzunkin. Before Rahman al-Islam, we fall in further in Golus. So every time even though it seems to be just a cut and paste type of slogan, every slogan or every statement we say has much deeper meaning. Never, he tells them, never ever skip just because you think it's insignificant. All right. So I'm going to try to cover a couple of things here. At what level? I want to show you. Okay, I'll show you a geschmack of word from the Rebbe at the high level. Azriel he married into a family of Go'ainim and Tzaddikim. So I'm going to ask him a question. Azriel, how many matzahs do we have on the table? You're afraid to say. He's showing figures. 3. Why 3? Kohen Levi Yisrael is it?
We use one for Moitzi, one for the Koirech, and one for the Vitamin.
Is that your final answer? Okay, so look at.
Ask a friend.
I'm married to a Mishloch. It doesn't mean that I am also.
No, why not?
you
Okay, so look, please, at what the Rebbe writes. First of all, look in the Alter Rebbe's part. Look at the Alter Rebbe's part. Everybody's humming things, and you'll be shocked. You're all humming answers, and then I'll tell you what the Rebbe says. Seder Haggadah. So the Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe says, Yisader al Shulchanoi Kaira begimel matzis. you should set a plate, a kaira with 3 matzahs. Munachim zeh. One. Okay, so there's your answer. Your answer is that you do 3. You know that the Vilna Gaon says you only do 2. Do you know that there's other say 9, others say 12, but we do 3. We do 3. Look at the Rebbe in the bottom. Look what the Rebbe says in the bottom. You'll be shocked. We had a bunch of people here hum reasons, and the Rebbe doesn't bring your reason. Look at the Rebbe in the bottom. Oh boy, I gave you the wrong page. No, in page Vav, page Vav. I have it in the box. The Gimel Matzos, I circled around. Why do we do Gimel Matzos? Shalu, so the Rebbe quotes from the Meiser Rekeach, from the Shiri Garin. The Rebbe says, Shalu Anchi Karayin Lamar Rav Shiri Garin. The people from Karayin asked Rav Shiri Garin, Lama Loichim Gimel Matzos B'Leilei Psachim. What's the significance of 3 matzos? Loi Pachos V'Loi Yoiser. So over here I had 2 different answers. I had a Kabbalistic answer, Klei Levi Yisrael. I had a Lechem Mishnah answer. Wait, that's a separate thing. It's a separate thing. But why the number 3? Says the Rebbe. Again, the Rebbe says it so beautifully. He's quoting others. The reason why we have 3 mitzvahs, it's a 3 matzahs, it's an remez min haTorah. Legimel soin she'amar Avram l'sara lasses mem ugos. The Malachim came to Avram and Sarah to tell them the good news. Avram says, "My dear wife, let's feed the guest. Please make gimel soim, right? Ugemiri." And the Chazal tell us, "Oisesman pasachaya," because she used the measurement of 3 soin to commemorate that. We have 3 matzahs. What? Why? Because that story of the Malachim and Avram happened on Pesach. Did you know that for that being the reason?
I heard, yeah.
You heard, but it was never at the top. It was never the top reason. And if you thought that wasn't the top reason, how about the next one? The Yeshayim, another reason, Zecher Legimel Hararei Olam. To 3 matzahs are not Kohen Levi Yisrael. They're for the 3 pillars of the world, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So the Rebbe says why we make 3 matzahs by the table is because of these 2 reasons. And the next shtickle, the Rebbe quotes, the Rebbe calls it Yisrael, Kohen, Yisrael, Levi, and Kohen. So the Rebbe says that's all al pi Kabbalah. There's 2 ways how to look at it. Either it's Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, or Yisrael, Levi, Kohen. And the Rebbe pushes that we're not calling it Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. We're Yisrael, Levi, Kohen, because Yelech, a person always has to be, instead of just being a Keli, a person has to be a Mahalach. But that's drush. What's the halachic reason? The 3 matzahs, the halachic reason. You hear Sandhouse? No, not you. I wouldn't scream at you. Why the 3 matzahs? Oh, he's going to come tomorrow, yeshiva. He's going to say, why 3 matzahs? Either for the 3 soy, the 3 pounds that Sarah baked for the Malachim, or the 3 Hararei Olam. What happened to your answer? You both had good answers.
I said Lechem Moni because I quoted what it says.
What does it say, Lechem Moni? What's the answer of Lechem Moni?
On the next page, it says, why Dafka is it a Prusa being Shtesh? We actually.
First of all, that's okay. I
didn't know what I was reading.
Right. You obviously didn't know. Because that's 20 pages further. I gave it to you. So this is one. You had a good answer. What was the good answer? And guess what? The Rebbe himself brings that answer. This is on page Vav, what we just read. If you go to page Lamed Daled, the Rebbe says your reason. Lamed Daled. Says the Rebbe, you're about to make the bracha on Amoitzi, and you're about to make a bracha on the matzah. You know the juggling act that you do there. Hold 3, hold 2, drop 1. It's like a whole
Don't crack it.
Yeah, there's a whole juggling act. If we'll get to there, we'll figure out what exactly the act is. But the fact is that what we're doing is we start off. Look at the words of the Alter Rebbe on the top. You're about to make the bracha of matzah, says the Alter Rebbe. V'lo yivtza mehem. Don't break all of them. Eliyaniach hamatzah shlishis lishamit miyadei. In other words, like this, David. You're going to make a bracha on maitzi first. Why? Because a maitzi is a tadir. The maitzi is the bracha that you make always on challah, on bread. The matzah, the bracha of achilas matzah, is the additional bracha. So the tadir comes first. So you say, now, so you make the bracha of a maitzi. When you make the bracha of a maitzi, you hold everything. It's applicable for all three. So you hold all three matzahs. Now, when you're about to do the mitzvah of achilas matzah, so now you drop the bottom one. Eliyaniach hamatzah ashlishis lishamit biyadei. You let the bottom one go. These are 3 whole ones. No, these are not 3 whole ones now. Now they're 2.5. The top one and the bottom one is whole, and the middle one is broken from yachatz, right? So when you make hamoitzi, you're holding all 3, 2.5 matzahs. When you're making achilas matzah, you don't have to hold the bottom matzah. Wait, the Rebbe is going to explain this. But let's read on top. You only hold the top 2. Terem yishbarem. Before you break now to make achilas matzah, you make this bracha. Okay? Comes the Rebbe and the bottom. Why am I holding all 3 and then dropping? What's going on here? Says the Rebbe. Haprusa bein shtei hashleimes. Says the Rebbe, I have a bunch of halachas that I got to do here. I have a bunch of halachas. A, it's Sudas Yom Tov. For Sudas Yom Tov, you need Lechem Mishnah. Now, I don't have Lechem Mishnah with all 3. Because if I keep only the top 2, it's 1.5. One of them is broken already. So I have to hold 3 because the top and the bottom are the Lechem Mishnah, the whole ones. So why do I, and what's about the middle one? What are you talking about the middle one? The middle one is guard the main mitzvah, because the main mitzvah is lechem oini, poor man's bread. A poor man doesn't have a whole loaf. A poor man has shtiklach bread. So I got to, when I start off the bracha of a hamoitzi, I have to look at it from one angle. The moitzi, I'm doing lechem mishnah. When I'm going to eat achilas matzah, when I'm going to say achilas matzah, I don't need lechem mishnah anymore. Now I got to zero in to which one is the real matzah. The real matzah is the middle one, the broken one, because that's the lechem oini. So listen to this. Read this inside. What's it? Ki k'moi b'chol yom tif chayiv liftsoya al lechem mishnah. Just like in every yom tif, you have to have lechem mishnah. V'darshu razal, and the Chazal say, Shebe Pesach, Moisef Aleim Oid Matzah. Pesach, you have another matzah. Which is another matzah? The prusa, a broken one. Mishum Lechem Oini. So to juggle all these halachas, we do this juggling act. So here's my question. Here's not my question. This is a Pashto question. The Rebbe just gave you, and by the way, this is from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. This is not the Rebbe's. He's quoting from the Rosh, from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. He gave you a halachic reason why you need 3 matzahs. You need lechem mishnah and you need lechem oini. So why didn't the Rebbe put that in the beginning? Why didn't the Rebbe put this? And that's the first answer that you answered. That why do you need 3 matzahs? Because you need 2 whole ones for lechem mishnah. And the Haggadah has to be said. That's why we do yachatz before we say Haggadah. Because the Haggadah has to be said over lechem oini. Why does it have to be said lechem oini? Because lechem oini has 2 interpretations. Lechem oini has poor man's bread, and that's why we're going to eat the broken bread when we make the mitzvah of achilas matzah. Lechem oini means lechem she'oinim olav dvarim harbe. There is a piece of bread. I'm calling bread. I don't mean bread, chas v'shalom. That a lot is going to be spoken about. The speaking of the Haggadah, the whole story has to be said over this prusa. That's why we keep on bringing it in, bringing it out, covering, uncovering. It's all about why we're sitting here that way. So there's a clear reason, halachic reason why we need 3. So what are you telling me, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov? What are you telling me is Gimel Sarim? Those things sound like Polish Torahs.
Practically, you need 3.
It's halacha.
Yeah,
so why didn't he bring this over there?
Because
This is the Rosh's question.
over there, it's about setting up the Cairo.
Bingo.
He gave
Bingo.
He gave it over like the Rosh too.
Bingo. The difference is like this. When you're talking about eating the mitzvah of achilas matzah, the mitzvah of achilas matzah, you need 3 for lechem mishnah. When you're up to here, it's halachic thing. You're starting the seder in the beginning of the seder. Set up what has to be there. That's not this halachic reason doesn't apply. Why you have to start the seder that way? This halachic reason only applies when you're about to do lechem mishnah. When you're about to do achilas matzah, so you need 2 whole ones and 1 half one. Why do you need this? The kaira should have 3. I got to find other reasons because the kaira is way before there's eating. So for that, he has the other reasons of gimel harei olam and the 3 soin.
You're saying why 3 shleimes? Because that was my question also. I was wondering if a person mamish just in the gulag in Russia.
So your question
only have 2 and a prusa. Is that fine? Or you have to try to scrape a 3rd shovel?
That's all you have. It's fine.
Right.
The Vilna Gaon says that on the night of Pesach, you don't need lechem mishnah because the lechem oini overrides lechem mishnah. No, your question is, do you have to do yachatz, or could you have a broken yachatz? Okay, I don't know. All right, so let's go back. Huh? It's cheaper. Thank you.
No, the ones in the you only have like 3 shleim. It's a thing of 6. So you got the,
All right. So let's go back. Azriel, I got another question for you.
I passed. Why by?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
No, I was asking why by mitzvah not to get the
No, top one. There's also an inu ein mavir and all mitzvahs. Yeah, and there's even where we're overlooking ein mavir and all mitzvahs. There's a whole other way how to set up the kaira that we set up the top of the kaira up Kabbalah, 2 segels, a whole. There's others set it up based on what comes first, because if I have to, what are we doing? What we have the karpas? Where do we have it here? So there's a question. Is it bottom right or left? Yeah. Okay, so there's a question that we don't exactly do it based on the
Order.
On order. It should be. Others do it based on order. Okay, let me highlight some things here. All right, Azriel, the question's like this: how many mitzvahs do we do on the night of Pesach? No. What are the
Pesach matzah
Pesach matzah mar? Okay, Pesach matzah mar arba koises. You're missing one big one. V'igada to levincha. V'igada to levincha.
No, just for that.
No, and now which one is the Iraisa, which one is the Rabbanon, and which one is a minig, Mesubim, Matbilin? You have from the Manishtan, is the famous Sikha from the Rebbe. Pesach's not the Iraisa.
No, not today.
What Pesach?
What do you mean?
Matzah. Not today. But now, today.
Okay. If Mashiach comes, we have it's going to be from.
And Morer?
Morer,
the Rebbe brings the price comes to the Rabban. Why is it only the Rabbanan? Because many hold that the Morer is al matzah, the carbon Pesach has to be eaten al matzah and roidim. So because we don't have the carbon Pesach, the whole al matzah and roidim is only zechel lemikdash. It's not as it was. Okay. What's the why are we eating mutter? Marazu. Why are we eating matzah? Okay, so before I ask my question, please look at page. Where is it? Page Lamed. The Haggadah itself asked that question: why do we eat matzah and why do we eat maror? Right. So what does the Haggadah say? Matzah zu shanu anoichlem al shumo. Why are we eating matzah on the top first? Al shum shalei hispik b'tzekas shalaveseinu lahachmitz. The dough of our forefathers didn't manage to rise. Ad shenigla aleim melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu go'olam. Right? So which part? Why are we eating matzah? Because we ran out? Because we were freed? Or because the dough didn't rise? What's the part that makes us eat matzah? So the Rebbe writes in the bottom, matzah zu al shum shalei hispik. Says the Rebbe, actually in the Mishnah, the lashon is different. In the Mishnah of Psachim it says, al shum shem nigel avasem mitzrayim. You eat matzah because the Yidden were freed out of Mitzrayim. Finished. Ubala Haggadah, however, the author of the Haggadah, Mefarish, Umevar, he explains a little what's the connection from leaving Mitzrayim and eating matzah. Al shum shem nigel. First of all, that we were redeemed. Va'al oifen hagul. He adds not only that we were redeemed, we were eating the matzah, but how we were redeemed and the way we were redeemed expects us to eat matzah. It was so swift, so fast, that the dough didn't manage to rise. Says the Rebbe, if you learn the Mishnah, why don't you just sit down and eat gefilte fish, right? What is the connection between toast? No. If you just take, so the question's going on the Mishnah, says the Rebbe. In the Mishnah, it says we eat matzah, al shem, shenigel avasem mitzrayim. You didn't answer the question. So the Haggadah says, no, there's a detail that how we were redeemed from Mitzrayim is the point why we eat matzah. The Rebbe in the next shtickle, the Yesh Leimar asher beis advarim. You have to say that both of these points, etzem ha'geula, that the fact that we were redeemed, ve'oifana, and how we were redeemed, echadheim. They're really one point. Al pi ma shekaseh b'svarim, and the Rebbe brings where it is. Why? Why did we have to go fast? We were redeemed, and we had to be redeemed fast. Why did it have to be that way? Because one more minute, one more second left there, we would have not been redeemed. So it had to have been done fast. If we would have been there for one more moment, so therefore it says, so the Rebbe says these 2 points are actually 1 point. He took us out at the last moment and it had to be done quick. So it's really one that couldn't, that's why we eat matzah. Okay, so when did this happen? Israel, Shlofnish.
No.
When did this happen?
I have a question before.
Wait. I'm the one asking questions now.
Okay, no, Mamish, I remember now.
Yeah.
They say that they didn't eat matzah in Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
That's why also the reason that's...
The Eben Ezra says, why do they eat the matzah Mitzrayim?
Lechemoni, I don't know.
Why is the lechem
Oh, it says it should be Mitzrayim.
The Eben Ezra says, there's 2 separate things. The Eben Ezra says that the Mitzrayim that was cheap. Which food item fills you up? You give somebody a slice of matzah, he fills up very quickly. You don't have to give him. If you give him fish and sushi, he has to eat a lot. You know, if you give him matzah, it fills you up. So that's a cheap food for. And
so it's the reason that we eat
It's
matzah
not
is
so
because
cheap
they
anymore.
eat in Mitzrayim
Right,
or
sure.
because we left.
but then
It's the same
the Rebbe asks another question. The Rebbe asks another question. There are 2 all the Maimar. All these Chassidic guys you should know from the Maimarim and the Rebbe. There's two matzahs. There's the matzah that the Eibush told us to eat in Mitzrayim as we're about to go before Koydem Chatzos, and then there's the matzah as we're running out. So one is symbolic for still part of the shibud, but that's not right. And that's right. Everyone knows this.
No, but everyone.
So
First one is with matzah too, without it.
very good. So, but that's not. We're talking we're talking now celebrating the Geula.
Our is it's
Yeah.
not the shibud.
Okay, so here's my question: what happened first, the shibud or the Geula? So why are we eating matzah and then maror? You should be eating maror then matzah.
Before the Kodim.
It's a wash first.
It's the Kemosh Getracht. You're 45 years old and you're just doing it like Kano Sahilo.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you have to wash first.
You
That's the meal.
Yeah, what do you mean? You could eat.
Mara separately.
You ate karpa separately.
Yeah.
First of all, the maror you made Adam already on the
Yeah,
maror.
We had mine, the Mara.
We barely did it.
You had him on the Mara.
So
So we're
So why don't you do it in order? First the maror.
because Mara has to be eaten together with it has to be eaten together.
With the Pesach. We're not eating with Pesach anyway.
Okay, but it's Zeichel, all things Zeichel.
This question the Chiddushei Harim asks. So what? So you want to do the mitzvah in the Torah first?
Yeah.
So the Chiddushei Harim, very good answer, but the Chiddushei Harim gives an answer like this. Some part of the merirus is actually haschal to the geula from two ends. He says a mushal of a melech who his son, the prince, was slacking off and it was just driving him crazy. So he decided he's going to teach him a lesson. Tired of teaching a lesson, he's going to send them away to Hotzenplatz, and you're on your own. Take care of yourself. Okay. Sure enough, the kid goes there, and with time he becomes one of the shikurim there, and he forgets of everything that he's Jagar, the prince. The father, the king, had a chukka to, how I can't just leave my kid somewhere in the Hudson, forget about him. So he sends one of his generals, go check out how my son is doing. So the general goes to that other city, and he sees their kid in the bars, drunk. And he says, hey, how are you doing? He says, oh, you remember me? Sure. He says, yeah, you're one of my father's general. He says, anything you want me to ask your father? He says, yeah, I would like to ask him about, I have ripped socks. I have socks with holes. Could you get me a fresh pair of socks? Could you get me maybe a new pair of jeans? And if he's already getting me a new pair of jeans, ask him for a couple bottles of vodka. So the guy goes back to the father, to the king, and the king realizes he's so fazunkin. The general asks him, anything you want? If he would only have seichel, he would say, get me out of here, bring me back. But he didn't. He's so fazunkin in his schmutz that he's asking for socks. He's asking for. So sometimes it says in Parsha Smicha says Vayimar Vayakam El Chadash. Oh, Vayankus, they started crying. They started screaming. For the hundreds of years before that, they thought, no, that's life. We're stuck. We're doomed. They for hundreds of years, they're there. They didn't realize. They're asking for socks. They're asking. It came a time when the Merirus woke up the Geula. In other words, it's the Merirus has a part of when you oppressed all the way against the wall. That's when they realized that really the Geula is the next step.
So it says that that's the reason why in the plate the model was in the middle rather than on
Chesed, Feres. Anyway, this Hezbollah has to be a tiff understood. I mean, in other words, that's why we eat the maror after the matzah, because there's a part of maror that's in the maror lick the geula. In the maror is even the greater geula. Then that's what caused the geula. You realize how low you've fallen. There's a very famous verse in the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov says, "Keil nekamas Hashem, keil nekamas Sefia." What is when somebody rebels against a king? What does he do? He slaps you up. He gives you a punishment. When somebody rebels against the Eibush, what does he do? He gives you more. Makes you rich. He makes you. What's the cheshbon? What's the cheshbon? The Eibush, you start realizing. Look, you start realizing. Look what kind of low life I am. I keep on rebelling at the Eibush. The Eibush gives me more and more and more. And you live with the feeling of, I want to change. If you just throw them into jail, you look old and going, go to jail and come out of jail, worse than they are. The Rebbe writes in the letters, the Rebbe writes that in Yiddishkeit, in Masechah Sanhedrin, there's no such a thing as going to jail. There's no punishment going to jail. The punishment, you deserve punishment, Arba Mrs. Besson, Skilla, stay for her. There's no such thing jail, because they don't come out better than they went in there. Anyways, that's a Maimer Musgir. So in this Merirus was different. So that's why Chiddushei Harim says you eat the maror after the matzah. But there's also a vart from Nachman Breslev also says that that sounds a little negative. A person just got redeemed. A person just became Yitzias Mitzrayim. It's not always going to be that way. But you should know that the martyr that will follow also comes with a mesikus. It's all the Eibishter. Hopefully you learn outcome from the Eibishter. So Rav Nachman Breslev has a story that there was a guy that was Nebuch also starving. So he had a Yiddish friend. So the Yiddish friend says, "Oh, it's the Jewish holiday coming now, Pesach. You just play the game, and you'll get invited. You'll get invited to have a big festive meal." Okay, he got invited to the Seder, and all right, he's sitting through long speeches, Haggadah, cracking and out. I'm hungry. But he can't say anything. He's sitting, listening to speeches. They crack a matzah. They eat a little matzah. Murder. He said, that's it. He ran out. Murder. In the beginning, I'm starving. So the next day, he sees his friend. He said, what do you do? He says, Vart. After the Murder comes the Shulchan Aruch. After the Murder, if you would have just waited just 2 more minutes, 5 more minutes, you would have the whole festive meal. So anyways, that's just a Musar Haskell. Let's talk a little about the Murder. You're not Menashe, are you Menashe? Your brother's Menashe, right?
I'm not a freedman. I look a freedman.
What's your name?
Captain, Chemia Captain.
Oh, I mixed you up.
But you know that too.
Why?
You know who I am.
Yeah, I know, but you look like
I look like a freedman. A lot of people mix me up.
Okay, Menashe, right?
Menashe.
I'm
not Menashe because the people mix
okay, fine. What do we use for murder? First of all, I'm not going to give you the halachic thing about matzah and murder. There's 2 Mishnahs in Psachim. Today's days, when I was growing up, you didn't have any choices. What to use for matzah. There's one matzah, and that's it. Today's days, you have spelt, you have this, whole wheat. Somebody showed me a clip in Williamsburg, and the Chassidish matzah bakeries, they have the matzah split into regular wheat, whole wheat. So they know how to write whole wheat the way we spell, right? Whole wheat is HULVEET. Whole wheat. That's the whole wheat section. So, but in our times, there was no such thing. It's one matzah, and you toughen it up. People. But Baruch Hashem, the Mishnah says that the matzah could be made. This is, by the way, a lesson in life. What flour could you use to make matzah? It only could be from chameshes minei dagan, only from the 5 grains. Why?
Because chametz comes only from 5.
Because you stand the rayon, only a flour that could become chametz, and you watch it, that you don't allow it to become chametz, could be made matzah. But if it's a flour that never becomes chametz, no big deal. That's not matzah. Matzah is when you have the challenge, when you have the potential of messing up, and you watch it and you make sure it doesn't get. The Baba of Rebbe, not this one, Shlomo, he writes, and it's even brought in Noitzim and Haggadah. He said, I don't want to go out on a random about this. What should a person do? Should a person rather have a Pesach kitchen, or should he kasher his kitchen? So he says, I think you should kasher your kitchen better. To have a Pesach kitchen, it's like the flour that doesn't become chametz. It's locked up all year. There's no challenge. There's no test. When you have a chametz to your kitchen that you're kashering, there's the shveitz, there's a shel mitzvah.
Who said this one?
The Baba whatever.
Well, I want to share it with my wife. She was complaining we should have a Pesach.
It's even brought in Noitzim and Haggadah.
Okay, even better.
Yeah, but only if you do the kasher.
Right.
If she does it.
Anyways, so the Mishnah says which flours you can use. Oats, spelt. There's the 5 chameshes minei dagan. We're not. You know what the chameshes minei dagan are? What's shibai l'shuo? Oats, rye, spelt, barley, and wheat. Okay, those are the 5. Those are the 5 that you can use for making. And how about potato starch? How about the other one from beans? Rice flour?
Right?
I'm asking him. No? Make sure you're not a Sephardi?
Corn flour.
Okay.
Cornmeal.
How about murder?
Today they have a quinoa.
Quinoa, yeah. How about murder? What should be used for murder?
Also 5 things, right?
Yeah,
Zeres,
but
sheep,
kidney.
Very good. So the Mishnah also says What are the things that you could use for maror? What are my options?
Chazeret, Ulashin, Salat, it says.
So what? Bottom line, I gave you names in English for the wheats. What are the ones that we do?
That is
Like romaine lettuce.
Can I ask you a klutz kasha? What? How is romaine lettuce remind you of maror?
The roots are bitter if you go all the way down.
So
Okay.
it's a Gemara. This question is it's the Gemara. The Mishnah calls this chazeres. The Mishnah calls the tamcha is horseradish. Everybody knows horseradish. Tamcha. By the way, in the Mishnah, when it speaks about the wheats, the flours, and it speaks about the maror, the halacha clearly states kala koidim. Whichever one is higher on the list, that's more preferable to be used. Tamcha, horseradish, is not the top of the list, and everybody knows horseradish. Why? Horseradish, everybody knows because it's bitter.
make it right.
Okay, who says you have? But chazaras is even higher. Why? So the Alter Rebbe, there's actually two gerses there. One gerse is like this. The Gemara says in Smicha, the Gemara says that when Pare was using us as slaves, how did he get us to work? Imagine a guy was there. Think it's easy to get me to work? What did he do to get me to work? He whipped me into shape.
It says over here, Meforech.
Yeah, what does Mefarech mean?
Meperach.
So there's two gersais. The perach either means one gersa, he actually paid us. He first paid us, and after paying us for one job, another job, then he ain't paying anymore, and he got you done. And the second gersa is beperach. He sweet talked us. And he got us to do something. And once we did it with sweetness, he's sweet talking, and he got us to do it hard labor. So when we choose maror, we choose something that has a sweet part to it, a soft part to it, and a bitter part to it. When you're talking about the horseradish, there's nothing sweet to it. It's only bad, only bitter. But so we dafka our minig is we use it for both, for maror and chazaras. And the Rebbe explains, even if they're the same thing, why they call different titles on the kaira. Why is this one called maror and this one called chazaras? But the reason we choose lettuce specifically, because for both of these reasons apply by these lettuce. The stalk or the end is bitter and hard. The leaf is a little sweet. It's sweeter. And it's softer. So to combine these two gersas, perach, we use chazeres. Now, if you look in how the Rebbe did it, so obviously the Rebbe also, what we do, it says in the Haggadah, we have lettuce and we also have horseradish, and we use them both. The Rebbe himself was makbid to do one more thing, which is not, I'm not saying questionable according to halacha, which others don't think you should do, but the Rebbe did it, and the Friedrich Rebbe saw the Rebbe doing it, and he said, "Das ist einer oftu. This is for people like Superman, like the Rebbe." The Rebbe would have lettuce. The Rebbe would have ground horseradish, and he had small chunks of horseradish, because many people believe, many I shouldn't say, there are some poskim that believe horseradish is do like a Russian, bite into a horseradish. If you grind it, you're losing the charifus, you're losing the sharpness. So it's a double-edged sword, because if it's way too sharp, you can't make a bracha on it. You can't, just like you can't make a bracha on foods that are harmful for you. So it has to be small pieces. But that's the Friedrich Rebbe called that's the Rebbe's chiddush. Most of the people do what it says in our Haggadah is use lettuce and use ground horseradish.
Also, there is a lot of different letters. There is some letters I had a recipe by and was mamish more not horseradish, but
Okay.
Lettuce. Yeah, you have the mindset of that one year that the Gemara was so sharp and everyone couldn't handle it, and everyone sat there
it
eating
was
it.
like organic store. It's not in a bag. It's mamish. Yeah, but romaine is not.
Rabbi Shai, what do we use for zroya?
Romaine is not so much.
Oh boy, here we go.
What do we use for zroya?
Yeah, mostly using that.
David, I didn't start up with you.
Mamish and not much more.
If you do
video, you won't see me Sunday morning anymore.
Oh.
I mean, now I know why Israel doesn't show up.
What do we do for Zraya?
He's part of the family.
Chicken neck.
A chicken neck. What is it? Why is a chicken neck really make? If you think about it, really doesn't make sense.
It's not a Zroya.
Huh?
Doesn't make sense.
It's not a Zroya. It's not carbon pesach.
It shouldn't be Korban Pesach.
It's
It shouldn't be Korban Pesach.
No.
The Rebbe writes when it comes to Gid Anosha,
I don't know. Some people put like
They put it's not a focus. No?
yeah, shank bones. The Welt puts a shank bone. The Rebbe writes by the Isser of Gid Anosha, the sciatic nerve. So the Rebbe writes, it's a very funny Isser. What happened? What happened was there was a struggle between Yaakov and the Malach. Al Kain, lo yoichlu b'nei Yisrael is a Gid Anosha. Everywhere else, it's Punkfakert. Al Kain, every other mitzvah is, oh, beautiful. We're going to eat apple dipped in honey. We're going to eat matzah. We're going to eat cheesecake. Punk the Gid Anosha is Al Kain, lo yoichlu. And the Rebbe has a sikha about that. But over here, there's a very big similarity to the Zroya. The Zroya causes big problems because we want to make sure that the Zroya is no shash Korban Pesach. So even though it's a chicken, which you don't have a Korban Pesach on a chicken, the Korban Pesach is an animal, but because we roast it, the Korban Pesach was roasted. So the Rebbe was makbid, the Friediger was makbid, pull off all the meat from the Zroya, all the meat. It should look like a bare bones. The chas v'sholem, it shouldn't look like the Korban Pesach that's sully, that's sli. It's a funny thing. I mean, why? It's not even called Zraya. We went off. I once had a story. In Minnesota, there was a person who sent his kids to the Not Lubavitcher school there, and it was before Pesach, and the Misnagish Rav came into the class to test the boys. He said, "Okay, what do we use for this? What do you use for karpas? So this kid pops up. The Lubavitcher says, "Karpas, we use onions." Yeah. So he looks at onions. He knows celery. He knows what I don't know what else everybody has. Parts. I think they use potatoes. I don't know if the Misnagish world uses potatoes. No. But celery, I think they use parsley, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Onions, he never heard. And I'm thinking to myself, why is it that he never heard of onions? And I figured it out. What do we do for a karpas? We dip it, we make a bracha adama, we dip it in, and we have in mind the murder. Only if you follow the Alter Rebbe, you make a adama on onions. The Mishnah Berurah says you make a shahakal on onions. So according to them, they couldn't do it. So that's why for him, it was a shocker. So everything, whenever you go here, what do we do? Because you know, if you look at the Rebbe's letters today you can't be a fit guy, a guy in shape, and not walk around with a bottle of water, chew carrots like Popeye or whatever. Yeah, you have to chew baby carrots. What bracha do you make on carrots? On raw carrots? What you look in Shulchan Aruch and there's a machlokes. It could be it's only a shahakal, because it could be it's a shahakal. It grows in the ground, but because it's not a type of food that you don't eat raw, you eat it only cooked. If you're eating it raw, it might be shahakal. And then you look in why it's your house. What are you yawning? You're yawning, yeah. So the Rebbe has a letter, Tafshin Yud Beis. Look in Shuvas B'Urim or Shulchan Menachem, so the Rebbe is writing that it's changed. Now people eat carrots.
Yeah, but onions, no.
What?
I mean, the carrots.
Salad.
Well, you don't have Russian. You don't have
carrots.
You don't have Russian blood. You never saw a Russian.
No, we don't. We should make chocolate.
If we eat it raw, you make adama.
We don't eat it raw.
The Russians.
We do.
The Russians.
The
Russians.
How much you put?
No, but we're not Russian.
Without,
We're not.
they say we'll finish off with Milsa. They say apple a day keeps the doctor away. An onion and garlic a day keeps everyone away. Okay, Messiah B'Toiv, this is the tip of the iceberg you have to learn for as you prepare for Pesach. This is garnish. You have to learn the inside of the Haggadah, and so much to learn.
Is it possible that we strip the Zuriya neck down bare